Good morning, good morning, good morning, Prep News family. Wonderful Wednesday, man. Another wonderful Wednesday. We made it to another great week, another fabulous week. Glad that you all are still here with me. Uh, man, I think it was about 4 years ago when I met this coach. He's entering his fourth year at his school. He's had to come in and make a few changes to get them back in the state of popularity. At once they were one of the most talked about schools in the state. They produce NFLers at this particular high school. Um, the likes of Eddie Lacy. Uh, I had a safety Eric Reed. Uh, they produce some guys, man. They've had some really fat years. If you know anything about the fatted calf, man, that's some really good eating, man. And he's done a really he's we can't just talk about the school he's at now and not talk about the success he's had as a coach as well. We've had a couple of conversations before. This is his first time though on Prep News. Please help me in joining Dutchtown Griffins head football coach Guy Mastretta. What's up, Coach?
Hey, man, good to see you. Thanks for having me.
No doubt, man. Thank you for being able to take a minute to join us. Glad you had the time. You are always busy. Uh, Practice, coaches meetings. Sprinkle a little parent meeting in there just for good measure. How's your morning been? Did you hear me,
Yeah,
Coach? So entering your fourth season as
it's
head coach.
been good. We actually got out on the field this morning. We went for about an hour. We've got our first JV game tonight. So
Okay, wouldn't be with EA, would
yes,
it? Well, like we got a little lag here. I don't know if that's me or Coach. Sometimes our areas, they do their own thing with this internet, man. You can't control any of that. Um, Entering year four at Dutchtown, right, Coach? Coach Mastretta. I don't know.
no, we're going to Plaquemine tonight for JV.
Okay. You're entering your fourth year at Dutchtown. How's it been so far? Oh, he died. He died. He'll be okay. He's coming back, you guys. He's got to find a better location to come in from. Big week of high school football this week, though. I know the three games that really stand out with me. The first one is located in the Baton Rouge area, the University Lab Cubs. They travel to Woodlawn Panthers, head coach Marcus Randall, along with I think he's the best quarterback in the state. You can't overlook or underlook Ricky Collins. Coach is back. Let's bring him back in. Hey, Coach.
Hey, man, sorry about that. I'm in my little office back there. Doesn't always get great service.
It's quite all right, Coach. I understand. So back to it. You are entering your 4th year as head coach at Dutchtown.
This is actually my 6th season.
Wow.
Time flies. It sure doesn't feel like it.
Right. It does not seem like it's been that long already.
Yeah, the 17 season was my first season.
Okay. So how's it been for you?
It's great, man. I love the place. Ascension Parish is my home to begin with. I was born here. I was living right here in Dutchtown for 5 years before I got this job. So it's where I want to be, and the place is great. The school system is fantastic. The community is wonderful. Just couldn't ask for a better spot.
Right. I kind of call it home too as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
In your 6 years, you've had to make some changes and adjustments due to player personnel and the type of football that you used to running, and you had a few twining coaches that some have came, some have gone, some have moved to administration positions. How's all that been?
Yeah, we've lost a couple of big time guys for us over the last couple of years into administrative roles in the parish, and you miss them well. Hope they do well, and it's a great move for their families. So it's tough when you lose coaches, but it's part of the deal. We at Ascension schools, we're able to hire good coaches to replace them. So it's just a constant building process, constantly changing and moving and trying to make the program better.
Right. When you think about the time that you've been there, coming after Coach Benny Sale, who did a phenomenal job in his process of being the head coach there, what were some of the things that you noticed that attracted you to the job at Dutchtown?
Well, I had a chance when I was back at Redemptorist. We played Dutchtown their first 2 years in existence back in 02, 03, 04, and had a really great feeling about what that program would be like. And I remember talking about it after our first game we ever played. I told Sid Edwards, who was the head coach, I was the defense coordinator. I mentioned to him, boy, that'd be a great place to coach one day. It had great fan support in the first year of the school, and the kids played really tough. Benny's a heck of a coach. He did a great job. He had a really good staff. So there wasn't a lot of changes. There was some changes outside of football that we made when we got here, and as far as academics and the weight and strength and conditioning program, nutrition, and those areas.
Right. Okay. What is it that you've learned about yourself and the mental toughness that it takes to coach at a program like Dutchtown, following the last probably 7-8 years Benny was there? He put guys in, he put a lot of guys in college.
Yep.
How hard was it, or how much of a transition was it for you to keep along that same path? And you've done that as well.
Yeah, I've had a chance to coach at a couple of schools that had a lot of success. We were fortunate to win championships at Redemptorist and as well as Livonia before coming here. I think the biggest difference here is being a 5A. It's the first time coaching in 5A ball. I never had a team with more than 65 kids on it. I get here and 10 through 12, we're over 100 kids, and we've got another 80 on the freshman team. So dealing with that many kids and their grades and their workouts and working with their parents, and it's really a lot to deal with. You need a lot of help, and I'm fortunate to have a good staff to help me in that regard.
Right. What was it like building the relationship with your coaching staff, and what did you do to what were some of the things that you did to make them comfortable with you, but also allowed you to get up to a place of comfortability with them?
Yeah, I'm a coach's son, so I've been around coaches my entire life. All my dad's best friends were coaches, so I was always involved with that kind of stuff. One thing that I do as a head coach is I try to hire good men first, people that are in this business for the right reasons. They're not in it for themselves. They're in it to help kids and to build young men and make their communities better. So when you hire those type of guys, you got to trust them to do their job. So I lean on my coordinators. Um, right now, I've got Mike Janis on offense, Chris Harrell on defense. Both of them guys have been head coaches before. I rely on them to coach their coaches, and it works well for us. We try to be very organized. We try to be very efficient, um, and we try to be good stewards of the community, not just coaches.
Right, right. When you look at when you look at the fact of all the again Redemptorist success, Livonia success, how far away do you think you are from turning the corner to getting to a quarterfinal, semifinal football matchup to say, okay, now we posterize this thing and got it stamped. Now let's go home.
Yeah,
It's home for you, right?
what's that?
That Poydras Street is home for you, right?
Absolutely. Well, shoot, I'd like to say that. It's something that everybody should experience, man. A trip to the Superdome for a state championship game, the way it brings the community together, it is such a special feeling, and I would love to see this community get there one day.
Right,
That's our goal, certainly. But our goal is, every single day is to get better, and you do that. You put enough of those days together, good things start happening. It's not easy, and certainly it's not easy at the 5A level. There's a ton of good football players out there. Um, you know,
right,
we try and do the right things every day um, to win championships. You got to have some athletes, and you got to have a little luck. Things got to fall your way. You know, I think every championship that we ever won, we had a game along the way that could have went either way, and we were fortunate to catch some breaks there. There's a couple of times where we lost games in the semis where, one play here or there makes a big difference.
right. You're a guy that again you've been here, you've been through several rodeos, and I don't know if that's the right analogous word, but you've been through some rodeos, and each spring and summer that comes about to help you get focused for fall, how has it been? We're just talking about it this time. How much of a growth process have you seen from the kids from an expectations level of okay, we finished the season, whether it was a great season or a good season, or yeah, we could be a lot better, but going into the spring and doing spring 10 days of spring and then getting to the post spring workouts and then the summer 7v7, how much growth in the learning curve have you seen from your students in saying, okay, each year they know what the expectation level is now, and they're just doing the little things to help improve the team, physical standpoint, mental standpoint, and those things.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing along those lines is having great senior leadership. The years we've had really good.
Oh, lost coach again. Phone call, guarantee you. Mic, coach, hit your mic. Your mute button. I think you're muted, coach. Coach Mistretta, unmute your mic. Can you hear me? There we go.
Sorry, try it again.
Yes, can you start over there?
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, can you
So,
repeat that?
senior leader. Yeah, just senior leadership. You know, I think that goes so far in helping with the message that we try to get across as coaches. We had a great senior leadership in our very first crew here, and I thought we got as much out of that group as we could have at that time. You know, that's one of the deals too. It's as much as you all want to win, it's getting the most out of your kids and becoming a better team each season as the weeks go by. We love our senior class this year. We've got great leadership. We've got to have a 4.0 GPA or better.
Wow, that's awesome, Coach. That means that you're teaching more than football. So we want to.
Yeah, when you have your best players, hey, when your best players are your best students and your best kids, that goes a long way. So we're going to really lean on those guys a lot this year. You know, we've got some really good players in spots. We have holes that we're going to have to work around. We're not very big, but we move pretty well, and so we're going to have to scheme to get a lot of movement and try to make something happen.
I got to see you guys this Friday night. I got to see you guys this Friday night, past Friday night in the Jamboree versus East Ascension. What was it like getting into your first live action of the season this year?
It was great, man. Yeah, you get tired of just beating up on each other throughout the August month. And to play a team like EA, one, you don't have to get your kids excited that week. You know, they're going to get excited to play those guys. And then EA is going to give you a great look. They're big, they're athletic. You know, they're always one of the best looking teams in the state as far as size and speed and those things. And then Darnell does a great job scheming. So it was a great look for us. Defensively, both teams played outstanding. Offensively, we both struggled, but again, we're playing against both really good defenses. So we've got a lot to work on, and that's what the Jamboree's for, is to give you an idea of where you got to go and what you need to really focus on. So we've got a list of priorities we've been working on this week, and we feel like we've gotten better. Feel like we're a lot better today than we were last Wednesday.
Coach, we got a fan question here, a viewer question for you. I'm gonna put it on screen for you. It says, "Hey, ask Coach, can he remember playing Rayville in 2015 when the ball was hiked over our quarterback head?"
Rayville, is that in 2014 in the quarterfinals? I'm guessing they're referring to. We had a great game, Rayville. Rayville had us dead to rights in that game, and again, a couple of breaks went our way toward the end. I mentioned that earlier. It takes that to win a championship, and we were able to pull one out. I can tell you, I've never been in a locker room after a win in a playoff game with kids as beat up and as just, there wasn't a lot of excitement. You know, they were just glad to get through that game. Rayville gave us everything they needed, and fortunately, a couple of weeks later, we were able to win a state.
Right. Coach, I think this is, I know in my recollection, this is the second time District 55A has been a combination of Ascension Parish versus Livingston Parish. You guys dropped McKinley, Woodlawn High School, Baton Rouge, and Catholic, and you picked up Live Oak Eagles, Denham Springs Yellow Jackets, and the Walker Wildcats. How excited are you to have a change of pace? Because I'm not gonna lie, man. You have to play a Catholic at Olympia every other year, or even having to go to Woodlawn. And Coach Randall has done a great job over there, and along with a kid that I think is top two in quarterbacks, and Ricky Collins. And even though McKinley hasn't been the McKinley of old, that's still a hard football game every year. What's going to be the differences for you?
We're excited about the new district. Change is always exciting. I think the two communities, Livingston Parish, Ascension Parish, both being suburbs of Baton Rouge, I think they're very similar. It's going to make for some great rivalries. Denham Springs is going to be outstanding this year. A lot of people are kind of sleeping on them. They've got an outstanding quarterback. Brett Beard does a great job over there. They're going to really, really be tough. And, Walker with Chad Mahaffey, a championship coach there, and Live Oak's on the come as well. So it's going to be exciting. I think you're going to have very competitive games week in and week out throughout the district.
Right. Again, and it was pretty good before. That may have been, maybe 12 years ago when this district happened before. I think it was right after EA was in the Red River district with Hunville, Thibodaux, and East St. John. And then it was this one. Then it went back to Catholic Woodlawn McKinley. What kind of preparation went into trying to get your kids to understand that, hey, new district means new things. We don't have a lot of fresh film on some of our opponents. What's the conversation like with your kids?
Well, we've actually in my first 5 years here, we had both Walker and Denham Springs on the schedule almost every year. So we played Denham in a jamboree 4 years in a row, and we played Walker my first 2 years to open the season. So they have an idea of what they're getting into, and we also play both of those schools every year in JV and freshman games. So we've already started playing them, and I know so has EA and Sanoma. So it's really not new for any of us. It's just the first time we'll be competing for a championship against them.
What's the difference in playing someone early in the season and every game has value, but district has a lot more value. What's the difference in playing someone regular season versus playing them in the district? And like you just mentioned, playing them in a game that's going to decide maybe the district championship and who gets to brag for a year.
Yeah, and that's about all it is these days, is maybe a little bragging, because now with PowerPoints, district championship doesn't give you anything special over anyone else besides bragging, and everybody wants to play for a championship. So that's fun. It adds a little juice to it. But the biggest deal is just as you're getting closer to the playoffs, everyone's playing better. You're dealing with injuries. You're bringing in new players. So everything gets a little amped up the closer you get to the playoffs.
Right. If you can, what's your schedule for this year, and what games have you checked off as benchmarks to use to decide how your season is going, and what things you may need to rearrange to be better and to ensure that you're peaking at the right time?
Yes, we break the season into 4 quarters. We've got the preseason, which we just finished with games against both Plaquemine and EA. Then we get into pre-district, district, and the playoffs. So that's how we break up the season, and we trying to focus on that segment at a time. So we open up this year. We're actually going to be like we're in the North Shore district. We open up our first 3 weeks are North Shore, Ponchatoula, and Covington. All 3 are great opponents. They're all tough. They're very similar. Of course, Ponchatoula had an incredible year last year.
Right.
They graduated a lot, but they still have some really good players coming back. North Shore is probably the most improved team in that district. So that's who we open up with this week. Last year, North Shore took West Monroe to double overtime in the first round of the playoffs. So we know we've got a great challenge there. We also play Carver out in New Orleans. You know, Carver's they're an unknown each year. Every
Right.
once in a while, you have a team that can make the quarters and the semis, and athletes everywhere, you know,
Right.
but it's hit or miss on when that happens. So we don't really have any scouting on them yet this year.
Talk to us a little bit about from an offense and then defensive perspective of guys that you're looking at to be big contributors to help you guys advance through each quarter of the four that you preset.
Yeah, so I mentioned the kids that we have committed to colleges. Offensively, we got both of our tackles. Ethan Fields, who's committed to Purdue, and Wayne McKitty, committed to Nichols. Okay, so both of those guys are going to really anchor our line. It's going to be important for us because the other guys up there are new and young. We returned Pearson Paron. Pearson's been our quarterback the last 2 years. We've shifted him to a slot receiver / running back type spot where we'll move him around. He'll also play back.
That's number 23, right?
Pearson is wearing number 2 this year. He wore 3 last year as a quarterback.
Yeah, I watched him. He's really solid, man. I watched him Friday night. He had some really tough runs.
Yeah, he's put together, man. He's a heck of a player, heck of an athlete. He's number 5 deep snapper in the country. So he's going to end up playing college ball as a deep snapper. He's also our shortstop in baseball. On the defense side of the ball, we've got a couple of really good players. Dixon Agu is our middle linebacker. He's the leader of not only the defense, but probably the team. Dixon's committed to Tulane. And then we have A.K. Burrell in the secondary. He's a safety. He can play all over the field. AK's right now committed to Furman, but he's got some more offers coming from some bigger schools. AK's also our kick returner, punt returner. We'll get him involved in the offense this year as well, along with Caden Mackey, a starting cornerback, who we think is just dynamic with the ball in his hands. He'll play some on offense as well moving forward.
Man, I saw a kid, and I'm going to tell you this, Coach. I never talk about freshman football. Never, ever. It's the progression, the progression between what a kid looks like when they come in as a freshman, even if they were a stud in middle school, the progression was they come in as a freshman versus the minimal to medium growth that happens freshman to sophomore, and then the medium to maximum growth that happens from JV to varsity. I'll never understand that. But you guys, again, in the Jamboree versus East Ascension this past Friday, EA had a kid who wore number 7, Jalen Broussard, who did phenomenal from a running the ball perspective and a catching the ball out of backfield perspective versus your kid number 7. And I apologize for not having his name. I should have done better research, but I saw 2 of the best freshman running backs that I've seen in a very long time in the freshman Jamboree this past Friday. Tell us a little bit about your kid, the number 7, man, this kid, I think that was the first play from scrimmage for you guys. He had a 75-yard touchdown run untouched.
Yeah, Z White, I think he made a great cut right at the line, a linebacker, and took it to the house. That's the first time I've seen him do that. So excited about that. His older brother plays on the JV team. We've got several players in that class we're excited about. It's fun to watch those freshmen come together. You know, they get out there, they don't have a clue right now, but they grow so fast, and every day just not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And it's just fun to watch, So we're excited about that class and looking forward to working with them. We got them coming in the weight room here in about 20 minutes.
I was telling a couple of the guys that were on the sideline, Todd Black, Chad Wilson, who's a OTBS contributor. When those young kids make it to varsity, barring any injuries, that's gonna be one of the best games from I remember back in the day, Ty Lewis, who was at EA versus, when they played those games, it was probably like 05, 07, 08, something like in that range. You went to the EA Dutchtown game to see those guys run the ball. And man, did they do it from both sides of the field. And so I'm just really looking forward to, in another year or maybe 2 years, when those two young fellas get to varsity and they're the primary backs and they get the ball 18 to 30 times, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought both of those groups did a really good job. I think our the freshman game was a 6-6 tie. I think we nipped them in the JV game by a score, and then they beat us 3-0 in the varsity games. I think the competition is great right there. We make each other better. Throwing Santa Moss, the same thing. Yeah. Any of those three games, they're always down to the wire type games. So it's big. It's great for the community, but it's great for these kids and these programs. We make each other better.
Hey, it was only one thing that I was kind of disappointed in Friday night, and generally that doesn't disappoint either. Neither side of the stadium had its usual turnout as far as fan goes that it's had in the past.
Right.
That's generally a 5,000 to 8,000 fan game, no matter where it's played. In Dutchtown, EA, St. Amant EA or St. Amant Dutchtown, that's it's generally around the same number, 5,000 to 8,000 fans pack whatever stadium it is, and it was only maybe about 2,500 there for the Jamboree Friday night. I don't know if people were afraid of the weather or not, but y'all come on out and support these kids, man.
Yeah, I think a big part of that was not having the bands in attendance. That adds to it. We get a lot of parents, a lot of folks come to watch and support those guys as well. But it's something that, moving forward, we're going to keep doing this Jamboree, and moving forward, we're certainly going to promote it a lot more than we did this year.
I'll be happy to help with that, Coach, in any manner I can.
Appreciate that.
I wasn't born here, but a lot of great things have happened for me in Ascension Parish. I've made and built a lot of relationships with not only coaches but players and parents. I cheer for you guys in my heart, because cheering for you out loud, that's a little what do they call that? That may be a little home cooking. I try not to show any biasness or favoritism out loud. No matter how you feel, you have to be impartial and fair. And so, with saying,
we appreciate it. Certainly, we appreciate it as Ascension Parish, but we appreciate you just supporting high school athletics in general. I think it's the best form of athletics, and it touches the most kids, and having people like you to support it and promote it, that's huge in the future of our children.
Oh yeah. So I want to tell you this too, Coach, before you go. We got to do this more often, man. I always learn so much. I probably learn way more about you all than you learn about me in this process. And so, hey, come on back, man, and next time let's figure out how to bring a couple of kids with you.
We'll do. We'd love to do it. Love promoting our kids, and next time I'll make sure I got my laptop ready to go.
No doubt, Coach. No doubt. It's all good, man. I'm just trying to enjoy the process, man. I thought my next guest would have been here by now, but hey, I'm gonna go ahead and end the show, man. I have to get ready to go and lay my father to rest. Uh, it it's a part of life, but you can't. It's the only thing that you can't miss. Like people have always said, it's two bills you got to pay, and that's your taxes and death. Well, now you don't have to pay taxes. You can pay the alternative, but you cannot miss the other guy. The other guy is always gonna come. So,
absolutely.
Hey, have a
great life. My condolences to you, and that's
yeah. So thank you, Coach. I really appreciate you being on, Coach Mistretta. Again, anything that I can do for you or your kids, hey, don't hesitate, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You too, Coach. One moment, guys. Hey, you guys, my second guest of the day just showed up. Man, I've known this guy probably for about 20 years, man. Hey, don't worry about all that, y'all. Just hey, please welcome Dutchtown Griffin. It's a Griffin type of day. Please welcome Dutchtown Griffin's head boys basketball coach Patrick Hill. What's up, Coach?
What's up, Hogan? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Welcome. Man. I honor the legend Pat Hill is in the building. Hey, I know, first off, I know your rule. And again, I'm honored that you chose me to do this with. So tell us a little bit about Patrick Hill and his background leading up to now. A little bit.
Well, I've been doing this for 31 years. My first 4 years, my first stint was at Plaquemine High School as an assistant basketball coach to Gary Dewey, assistant football coach to head coach, rest in peace, C.J. Alexander. Both are legends in their own right. And I moved to East Ascension After 4 years at Plaquemine, I moved to East Ascension in '96 as an assistant basketball coach to Gary Mitchell, as well as Clinton Sampson. And football, it was Billy Beasley at the helm at that time. And then in 2002, when Dutchtown opened, I migrated to Dutchtown High as the head basketball coach and assistant football coach for Benny Saya.
Yeah, and so we want to give you this congratulations, man. Right now, we want to give you your flowers on this while you're alive, while you're here. Huge congratulations goes out to you and additions and subtractions that you've had as a head coach. But you're the only head coach that Dutchtown Griffins basketball on the boys' side. You've been their only head coach. What's that been like?
It's been challenging at times, but for the most part, very, very rewarding, both for myself as well as my immediate family.
Okay.
I've enjoyed it.
That's awesome to hear. That means that you've done a lot of good work because you again, it's 5A basketball we're talking about here, and in Louisiana, as much as people love football, we love all things 5A.
Exactly, I agree.
And so, what's it been like? The changes and adjustments that you've had to make as a head coach, and each year the variant of kids that you have to coach and develop skill set, help develop IQ so that you can be competitive. What's the changes been like from that aspect?
Well, as far as you can't. And I have to give props to Coach Walker, who's now an assistant principal at East Ascension. I coached him in football as well as basketball when I was at East Ascension. He became an assistant coach for me here at Dutchtown High. He bought me some years. He gave me understanding of. You have to understand, when I first started coaching, I was 22, and that basketball player was 13 to 17, 14, 18, or 15 to 19.
Yeah.
And as I got older, well, obviously there's going to be a generational gap, as well as the landscape of how you can coach change. As the adage goes, you can't coach kids hard anymore. Well, you can, but you just got to use a different approach if you want to keep their attention. I think Tom Izzo said it best. Someone asked him, can you still yell at kids, yell at players? He said, yeah, you can yell at them, but the thing about it is they're going to yell at you back now, which you don't get that too much at the high school level, but you do get some level of unattendedness to a certain degree when you yell, so to speak. And you got to understand, you can affiliate with this, you can associate with this. I was coached a certain way when I was in high school.
Right.
The coaches that I worked for when I first started coaching coached a certain way. So that had an impression on me, and it was indelible to a certain degree, and that you couldn't erase it. Right. But if you wanted to adapt to the times, you had to change. And Coach Walker helped me understand that, and I did my best. I have former players, Hobart, that come to me and say, "Coach, man, what happened, man? You don't." I still coach. I'm thinking hard. I just can't deliver the same things that I deliver. It's because the landscape has changed. You'll lose a kid. Figuratively speaking, you'll lose a kid in the midst of everything. So I think that's one of the greatest because the X's and O's are still the same.
That's
You
right.
can't reinvent the wheel. It's just the landscape of the players have changed, and rightfully so. I mean, kids are still tough. I use this with my players all the time. I said, guys, you guys are not as tough as my generation. But my generation is not as tough as my parents' generation.
Right.
And my parents' generation is not as tough as my grandparents' generation, based on the things that they had to endure, not just in athletics, life, period. So I think it's all for the better, though. I think it's all for the better.
Man, like you. This means so much to me, man, because again, I've known you probably for 20 years. I knew you, when you not at the start, but shortly after the start, we both were kind of young then.
Yes. Yes.
And bro, what you just said is like so true, because I played for a legend, myself and Mike Valerie at Washington High School, and he had one philosophy: you're gonna do this my way or go your asterisk home.
Well put.
And look, it wasn't, man. It just wasn't no calling your mother or or none of that, because my mama was, the first thing she was gonna ask me was, "What did you do?"
Exactly.
What did you do?
Exactly.
And so
bringing back memories. You're bringing back memories.
If you said I did, she was gonna cut you off after did and tell you, go accept your punishment. And I think the biggest change that coaches had to make, and even me, when I was training kids, like you have to understand that a lot of these parents and parents, y'all can take this how you want. I don't really care. But some of them don't want their kids coached. They just want their kid to be on the team, and if they're good enough to play, give them their 8 or 9 plays. And if they're not, they want you to figure out a way to get them to their 8 or 9 plays. But that's just real life impossible, because
correct.
As a trainer, when I did my consult, I didn't just do my consult with the kid. I did my consult with the kid and the parent, because you have to know that this is a threefold process. In order for your kid to get the most success out of this, I have to be prepared to do my job with your kid as a trainer. But as a parent, you have to do your job in getting the kids to the workout sessions on time, and exploring the possibility that your child may need a little.
Yeah, go ahead.
You as a parent, you have to explore the possibility that your child may need some work. He or she may not be as good as you said he or she is in your mind, because sometimes as parents, we see our kids have success maybe at the bitty basketball level or the GYBL level, but that's going to be different from what middle school basketball is. And if you see them have success at the middle school level, then the first thing you're saying is, "Oh, my child's about to be Superman." No, that's not how that works.
Right.
Like, people are real life working, especially today. Like, kids are really bigger. Kids are really stronger. Kids are really faster. Kids can think the game 3 seconds ahead and see that pass that you see NBA. Kids are making that in high school. Right now today, the pocket passes that guys were only making in the league, it transcended to college, and now it's at high school. And before long, you're going to be seeing 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds making phenomenal passes, because they understand that I got to have core vision, I got to have awareness. What happens in the process of your practices where you're trying to get kids to realize and understand that you got to see the game 2, 3, 4 seconds ahead in order for us to get the maximum production of what we're trying to do.
Yes.
What happens in your practices that you try to get kids to see and understand them?
Well, being Hobart being the largest high school in the state of Louisiana, and you have Prairieville Middle, Dutchtown Middle, as well as Bluff Middle feeding into your program. And let's say those three middle schools have 15 kids on their team. When they get to high school, and like you said, the parents are under an impression sometimes that because they made the middle school team, that they're going to make the high school team. But you got 45 guys trying out, and it's a good disadvantage. It's a good disadvantage because you have a lot to choose from.
Right.
But as far as when it comes to actual practices, is that you have one of the hardest things to get the kids to do because you got three different middle school coaches saying three different things, and you're basically saying the same thing to them, but it's like foreign to them because so you have to get them to understand that, guys, I'm saying the same thing that your middle school coach is saying. I'm just using different terms because you got three different coaches, and in some instances, the philosophies are similar, but it's like personalities. You got similar personalities, but nobody's personality is the same. So the deliverance is different. So for me, one of the challenges is getting these guys that are coming from three feeder schools, large feeder schools, getting them to understand that I'm saying the same thing that your middle school coaches were saying. I'm just saying it differently and emphasizing it maybe differently, if that's will. So that's one of the challenges with your ninth grade team, because your ninth grade team is the most important part of the program. All your freshman is important, JV is important, varsity is important, but freshman is your most important because they're your future.
Right. That's right.
Right.
I want to ask you this, Coach, and again, I talk a lot about skill development and IQ because to me it's vitally important and just as important as uh, bigger, stronger, faster. How much of a relationship do you have to have with your middle school feeder schools in just the process of a coach? I'm not asking you to be Patrick Hill and run everything that Dutchtown High School runs, but can you maybe integrate some of this terminology that I use, or uh, integrate this play at all your feeder schools? Because this is kind of the primary base of what I utilize here at Dutchtown. How much goes into that?
I don't know what fraction of it is your program, how much goes into it, but and again, it plays a major role that you have a relationship with your middle school coaches, and that it plays a major role. It plays a major role in that. Again, that's your future. And then one of the things when I communicate with the middle school coaches is it's just one of the things I emphasize is just make sure they work hard. Make
Right.
sure they work hard. Make sure they work hard and realize that failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue, and don't be complacent with success because success is not final. That's one of the things I try to emphasize to the middle school coaches because, not to by no stretch of the imagination, those middle school coaches are of equal value to the high school coach. And I
Right.
hate to use my and those guys, but they're part of this organization, and they're important. So that's one of the things I emphasize, as well as with the landscape of things now, where kids are just leaving and crossing over parish lines and thinking that they're going to better opportunities. One of the things I try to stress to them is that you can't go wrong with Dutchtown High when it comes to being a student athlete. You know,
Right.
Dutchtown. Ascension Parish. Period. I mean, you can't go wrong with Santa Maria East Ascension as well as Dutchtown when it comes to an environment that's conducive for a kid to be the best student athlete that they can be. So again, you know, I stress to these middle school coaches that, hey man, I'm not saying recruit them to come to Dutchtown High, but sell Dutchtown High to them, because again, there's a reason why we the largest growing parish in the state of Louisiana, because our schools, the environments at our 3 schools, as well as Dawsonville, as well as our 2 private schools, the environment for the student athlete is the best.
Right.
You know, it's the best. So, you know, that's one of the things I talk to that sounds possessive, but the middle school coaches about. You know, as far as that's not has nothing to do with being on the floor, but yet it's important. You know as well as I know it's important. You know, you got to keep those kids that are zoned to go to you. You got to try to entice them to stay where they're zoned to go to. Yeah. And you're always gonna lose a couple of them here and there. That's just the lay of the land. But hey, we learned to live with it.
Hey, look, let me be a little possessive. Let me be a little possessive here real quick. I got to shout out Ascension Parish Schools, Ascension Parish School Boards, because I got one that just graduated in 20.
Correct.
And
yes.
I got one that just started in, what's this, 2022-23 school year?
Yes, sir.
Y'all know I'm going to play there at times, but I got a freshman at the same high school, so I believe in Ascension Parish Schools.
And I applaud you for that. I applaud you for that.
Shout out to EA, Go Big Blue. Go Blue, live gold.
Hey, I ain't mad at you, brother. I ain't mad at
you. Again, as much as sometimes as we don't like some things that go on at a particular school, as a parent, you have to look at the overall success. And if it's overall success, then you can't cry about the little things, because everybody is not going to do everything that's conducive to your heart being happy. Because if they did, they'd be mismanaging the other kids, no matter how many it is, whether it's 1,700 to 2,500 or over 3,000. You got to think about the whole and not the part, so that you can do everyone the same service instead of doing most of this service. If that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense, man, because you said the key phrase, right? Not to interrupt what you're saying. The overall success of the schools in Ascension Parish is second to none.
Right.
You could have said it. You couldn't have said it best.
You know, I haven't always agreed with everything that's went on or went forward at East Ascension, but the most part, you don't see a lot of kids dropping out of school. You know, you're going to have teen pregnancy and some delinquency in every school. But again, for the most part, our kids graduating, our kids are not in, you know, they're not perfect by far, man, but they do a really great job. And watch this. I'm about to punch you parents again. I'm telling you, I'm about to punch you parents right now. So when you see a kid and he's in the street and you know he's not doing the right thing, whether he's your child or not, say, sit your ass down. And the kid may not want it, but he accept it because he knows you know his parents. He knows that you're going to call his mom or dad and say, hey, I saw XYZ out here. You know that boy's out there smoking a cigarette. Well, that's a telltale sign that kid might be going in the wrong direction. Or XYZ was hanging out with these boys, and we all know these boys, all they do is get in trouble. Well, hell, I don't want my son hanging out with kids that all they do is get in trouble.
What?
Yeah, good.
So, again, but let's get back to basketball, man. What was you guys' summer like? Where y'all go? What y'all do?
It was great. Very, 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 very productive. We were in Broadmoor's Summer League. played in 1 or 2 team camps, and day in and day out, competition and competition, we were competitive. I mean, I was really pleased with our productivity during the summer. Didn't have the attendance that we wanted, but due to certain circumstances, some of the kids had obligations that was out of our control, but all things considered, it was a great summer. I was really pleased with how we came out of the summertime.
Man, you've been around the game a long time. You played against some of the best competition across the state. Well, coached against some of the best competition across the state. Um, you coached some really good athletes at Dutchtown within itself. Uh, how's the game changing in the aspect of bigger, stronger, faster? Doesn't always mean better.
Doesn't always mean better. In that a lot of emphasis is being placed on bigger, faster, stronger. You got outside entities, and that's something you have to be careful with, because a lot of your athletes now are not only utilizing what is being provided by them on campus, but they go into outside entities as well. And what I've experienced is that sometimes it can lead to overload. You got to be careful with that, and you can't ignore it. You got to inquire. You got to ask kids. You got to ask these student athletes, what are you doing outside of school? And then balance it out. Okay, and I learned that from a couple of football coaches. I didn't realize that there were that many outside entities that had workout facilities, and let alone kids gravitating toward it, these things. And you got to be careful with that, because in my 31 years of coaching, I've seen where kids have gotten they're burnt out. That they're burnt out. They get burnt out. You know as well as I know. I teach driver's ed. Okay. And there have been kids, I've had students in which we'll go home to their home, and they'll be like, can we drive a few more minutes, or oh man, I don't feel like going to workouts. I'm like, workouts? You just came from practice. I mean, you going to work? Yeah, I got to go to workouts. I'm like, so, as time evolves, I'm getting more, not many, but I'm getting more and more of those situations. So to answer your question, it's more than just the schools that are providing. And every school has a detailed workout program. Right. And then they go into another detailed workout program.
Right. And
it's in some instances, it leads to overload, and it leads to burnout. So you got to be careful with that. It's like, it's not equivalent to if you're struggling in an academic class, you go get tutoring. This is your body we're talking about.
Right.
This is your body, and as well as it's affecting your mind, and to a certain degree, it's affecting your social aspect of your health. So to answer your question, sometimes too much emphasis is being placed on the bigger, faster, stronger. Sometimes too much of anything is not good. That's with anything. Too much of anything cannot be good at times. I don't know what fraction of it is, but too much of anything can be not good at times.
Well, I think a lot of it is so, and I'm big on beating a kid's body up when they're young, because their body adapts and adjusts to what it does more greater when the body is younger than as it progresses from 14 to 19. So parents should start getting their kids. Like me and my son, I knew he was gonna love sports because it's in my DNA. Like, all my brothers and my sisters played sports. My mother and father played sports. Like, it's in my genetics of my family's DNA to be athletes. Now, the one I didn't expect was my daughter. But my son, he started training at 5. And so by the time he was 12, 13, I had given him so much information, and he was a student of athletics. Like I remember he would watch if he wasn't home, and this was big because this was back when you could record games and not be at home to watch them later. He would record 4 or 5 college games through Florida. Whoever his favorite teams were, he recorded their games when they were on TV. But watch this. Then he would go back and watch every single game, and he wouldn't record more games until he had watched all of the previous games that he had recorded. So in his mind, he knows 1,000 offenses. He knows 1,000 defenses. And that was for a couple of sports. So you have to oh wow, good, great analogy, Hobart. I'm glad you thought of it. Train a kid up in the way that they should go. That way, when they're older, they won't depart. I think that'll preach on Sunday that'll preach on Sunday through Saturday, huh, Coach?
Correct.
What went into the scheduling of this upcoming year's basketball season?
The experience level, mainly the experience level of the team, of our roster. Facing various philosophies that if you're fortunate enough to get in the playoffs, you won't be caught by surprise because you happen to face this particular philosophy in the preseason, so to speak, as well as going to venues where basketball is somewhat of a staple, has a rich heritage, taking the kids in the demographics they would not see otherwise.
Right.
So there's a few things, if not several things, that played a role in every year's scheduling.
What are some of the games that you're looking forward to that are going to help your kids get prepared for a tough district? Again, Tyrus McGee, Live Oak, Coach Cap, Denham Springs, Coach Shiro at Walker, newly head coach at EA, Troy Green. Again, Saint Amant has Coach Travis Uzi, who was once at EA as an assistant. What goes into that in helping your kids get prepared for that really tough district?
Well, we're in Santa Ma's tournament, which is a tough tournament.
Gold Dome Classic. That's legendary.
As well as the Spartan Classic.
That's
tough
legendary.
Tough tournament. Then we have U-High. We have White Castle, just to name a few tough components. We're traveling to, I'm not sure who we're playing, but we're traveling to Ash, Alexandria High. The day after the Plaquemine tournament, which is, again, great venue to play basketball.
Legendary. Coach Donald Green. Coach Donald Johnson.
That was my first 4 years, so I always like going back home to Plaquemine. And then we're traveling to Ash for a one-day game, one-day tournament. So we're doing that. So there's multiple teams that we're playing that's going to prepare us for that tough district that we're in. I'm looking forward to all of them, really.
Hey, so I remember this. I remember this vividly because it would have led EA and Dusttown to a semifinal matchup if it had happened. But people have maybe not given you a fair go at it, to be honest, because just in 2020, you guys had to travel to Monroe and play at my alma mater, Washita, in a quarterfinal matchup against, Coach Jeremy Madison at the Madhouse. How do you keep turning out really good teams and coaching really good kids, and it still not maybe be good enough for the standard?
Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder.
Yeah.
So the standard is in the eyes of the beholder. As long as you are putting forth your best effort, and you know in your heart that you're trying to get these kids to be the best version of a student athlete that they can be, well, just let my work speak for itself.
Right.
You can't, if you live by someone else's standards and their perception, you would be lost.
Or banging your head up against
Your
that brick.
Right. Your perception is built by your experiences, how you've been nurtured as a human being. So you have to keep it in perspective. In that, set your standards high. Don't get me wrong. Set your standards high. But Hobart, I live by this creed. I live by this creed. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that matters.
Right.
Now I'm quoting someone. I didn't come up with that saying, but I live by that. In that you can think what you want to think. Your perception is your perception. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, you got to feel good about yourself. I tell people all the time, charge it to my mind, not my heart. I mean, if my heart is in the right place, so be it. It is what it is. But your standards still should be high. Don't get me wrong.
Right. And someone else's perception doesn't necessarily involve your reality. Your reality is, like you said, based off things you've experienced
Exactly.
and how you handle the adversity from what you experienced.
Exactly.
Again, man, I wanna. This means the world to me. Again, when you've been in the game as long as you have, and then to be in that game at the same school for 21 years as the only head coach that this high school has ever known, you don't see that in today's market of high school basketball. When turnover sometimes is every 2, 3, 4 years. So we want to congratulate you for that right now, Coach Hill. Um, Live while we both still have warm blood running through our veins. Um, I thank you for your service to and for the Ascension Parish community, all the things that you would do at Dutchtown. A lot of kids in Ascension Parish today have driver's license because of Patrick Hill. A lot of kids from Ascension Parish have went on, and no matter what people say, they went on to play college basketball because they played under your program and you helped develop them. My kid didn't learn nothing. Well, how the hell you get to college? Bad players don't go to college. And if you were if you were the guy, their primary guy that dealt with them for 8.5 months out of the year, that's your kid. I'm just saying. Don't shoot me. I'm just the messenger.
Preach, brother.
I'm just the messenger.
I hear you.
So, hey.
Well, look, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Let me say this. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. I've been fortunate enough to have supportive administrators, There's too many of them to name all of them because I've been here so long.
Yeah.
They've all been supportive, and I've only had 2 ADs as a head coach. The great Benny Sayre, great friend of mine, and Guy Mastretta. I would not have been here that long. They played the administrators as well as the 2 ADs, and I would not have been here that's this long, as well as the great assistants that I've had. And I got to give a shout out to my former player, assistant coach, the assistant principal at East Ascension, Jonathan Walker.
Johnny Walker Red.
He's one of many, many great assistant coaches that I've had. It's a bittersweet moment for me. I'm glad he's propelled himself into administration. He's just going to reach kids in a different way. But I would be remiss not to personally name those people, because they played a role in my tenure as well as the success that I've had here in Ascension Parish, in Iberville Parish, where I first started. You broke the ice. You're one of the only first people that I've done something like this with. So that shows the respect that I have for you and what you're doing. Plus your persistency. You were persistent. You never stopped. And you never looked at me differently because I would deny it. So you never took it personally. So I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate it.
When you have real relationships with people, especially, again, media is the cause of this. All media hasn't been true and genuine, and most of them had an ulterior motive to make coaches be not seen in a great light. I'm trying to change that perception. I'm gonna build my own superhighway if it takes every last breath in my body. And I'm gonna do it my way, the right way. Where coaches, like, it's guys that call me every single day. It's coaches on the boys and girls side that just say, "Hey man, I'm just calling to see how you doing." That hasn't happened in media before. Never. In any state, probably, not just Louisiana. So I'm trying to build, like, we've always been cool, Coach here, but I'm trying to show people that you can build real relationships built off honor and integrity. Because that's what it's about. If I'm not honorable and I don't have integrity in dealing with these kids, God is going to judge me, not man.
I'm gonna say like my grandmother said, "Shut up, boy."
Hey man, for real, man. You don't know how much this means to me. And you know, we kind of running a tight race in age. I may catch up to you this year. I got a birthday in 4 days.
Happy birthday.
I buried my dad in 2 days. And so bittersweet, man. Bittersweet. Last year I celebrated my 50th birthday for 3 months. I was on one. Every weekend for 3 months I did something. I'm just working on right now, not crying on Friday, man. That's it. So, hey, thank you, man. It was a Dutchtown gripping type of day, and you got to be you either got to be a Griffin or you got to be a part of this Ascension Parish family to know that holds a lot of weight to be a Dutchtown Griffin. The pride and integrity and the honor that's been built, that's called Dutchtown High School, is really second to none. And so we thank you. Again, I'm honored that you took this time with me. Hey, give my guy Coach Mastretta when you see him. Give him a high five for me, man.
I will, and I appreciate you.
We had a really, really great conversation, as always. And hey, tell the people hi, man. Tell them about it. Say hi, bye.
See you guys later.
Remember, get off the bench, get into the game.
Appreciate you, brother.
No doubt.